Hello there and welcome to this live training session from Centtrip. My name is Dicken. I am the head of user experience here at Centtrip, and today I'm going to show you the features and functionality of our global platform. Today what we're going to do is actually show you how to take a new account setup right through from conception, right through to adding some funds, creating some users and setting the permissions of those. We're going to be making some payments then and approving those. We're going to order some cards for the account and load some funds onto those cards and manage the spend limits. And we're also going to see where those transactions from those cards end up, and we're going to create some custom reports on those transactions. And also today, right at the end, I'm going to show you a little preview of what is coming in Global in the next year, in 2026. So we've got some exciting things to share with you then. So without further ado, I think a good place to start is actually to look at the platform and to step through what are the main features and where you can find them in our platform. So when you first start using Centtrip and you sign into your account, you'll land in a dashboard. We've got two dashboards at the top here. The admin home dashboard is the dashboard where if you're looking after a group of accounts, is where you can get a sort of helicopter view of what's happening across all your accounts. And then account home is if you want to zero in and just see what's happening in a specific account. Expenses is where all the transactions land, so your payments and transactions being made by your card holders, but also any sort of payments, FX, transfers as well, all end up in expenses, and you can check receipts, check codes, and so on. Statements is then when you can generate all your reports, so your monthly sort of statements of account. You can also just generate ad hoc reports as needed. Labels and projects is where you can create and manage all your accounting codes. And then payments is where you can see all the payments that you've made, see the status of them, approve payments. And also, of course, this is where you can make payments, whether that's making just a one-off payment to a particular recipient or making a batch of payments. And I'll be showing you that today. FX is where you can change currency, and you've also got here a tab called FX Payment. And this is used to change currency and then send that changed money straight away to a recipient. And then the recipients list, that's where the actual recipients, where you're going to be sending money to are set up. That's where you add them all. The manage cards list is, well, as you might expect, is where you manage your cards. So this is where all the cards are listed. You can check the balances on those cards, check the status of them. You can also top up the cards, order new cards. It's all done in this tab. And then if you're a super admin, we'll be talking about what that means shortly. You've got the user screen. This is where you can create and manage your users, and you can also customize permissions via creating and editing roles within the platform. And then you've got here an account screen. This is where you get more details about all the different accounts that you manage. And then right at the bottom here, you've got the integrations screen, and this is where you can set up integrations into Xero and QuickBooks. So I think it's time to start setting up our new account. But before we do that, let's just go back to the presentation and talk a little bit about how account data is structured within Centtrip. And your business, once you've completed your application, gone through the application process, and you've been implemented on Centtrip, your business will be implemented as what's called a corporate. And a corporate essentially is a legal entity within Centtrip. And then within that corporate, you will have one or more operating accounts. And the operating account is where the magic happens. Those are the things that hold funds. That's where you create cards and make payments from, and so on. It's all done from your operating accounts. So in terms of visualizing that, so there's some corporates. Generally, most people just have one corporate. But some people, you might be managing more than one. And then within those corporates, you're going to have one or more operating accounts, and we're going to be setting up a new operating account today. An example we're going to be looking at is in the marine industry. We're going to be setting up a new boat, but actually the sort of what we do today is applicable to any industry. Now, these two drop-down lists at the top of your Centtrip Global dashboard is what you use for navigating all your data. So often you'll see two drop-down lists. This left-hand one that's where you select your corporate. As I say, most people just have one corporate they're managing, but quite a lot of our customers do have a selection of legal entities, and you can switch between them there to manage your different corporates. And then this right-hand one here, this is where once you've selected your corporate, you can then choose your operating account. And the operating account we're going to be managing today, we've got 4 here in total, you'll see, and we've got this new one here called Carlton. And you'll probably see, it's quite obvious, at the top here we've got our balances and our various currencies, and you can see here we need some euros in this account before we can do anything with it. So the first thing we're going to do today is get some money into our operating account. Let's have a talk about that. So, how do you get funds into your operating account? Well, if you're transferring money in from an external bank account into Centtrip, then you've actually got account details within each account, which means you can actually make a payment straight into your operating account. And what you'll see is most of the operating accounts actually have an IBAN. It's actually a virtual IBAN, you might hear it referred to as a vIBAN. And those you can use to then make payments from your bank account into your operating account in Centtrip, and from there you can load the money onto cards and so on. Obviously that bank account, that needs to be sort of signed off by us. That's done as part of the application process. It becomes what's called a approved source of funds, and you can also add additional sources of funds. We've got a form for you to do that as well. And if I go back to Centtrip here, and down the bottom of your dashboard, I'm in the account home dashboard here, so I'm just looking at the Carlton account. I've got a tab here, recent transactions, that shows me all what's been happening, but then I've got account details, and that's my IBAN I can use for transferring money in, and then source of funds, i.e. the approved source of funds, those details are shown in the source of funds tab as well. So that's good news. Now, I'm not actually going to transfer money in from an external bank account today. What I'm going to do is transfer money in from a different operating account. So if I go back to, if I look at this list, I've got this main account here that I've called training account. And you can see here, this has got plenty of euros in it. And so I want to get some of those euros into my Carlton account. I'm in fact going to transfer 2,000 over. And to do that, I've got this quick transfer tool here on my dashboard, and I can just go, right, select that I want to go from the training account. It confirms the balance there. I'm going to transfer this into Carlton, and I'm going to transfer 2,000. You can see there, my balance is confirmed after transfer. That is great news. Let's confirm that. There we go, that's made. There's no fees when you're moving money between accounts. That's just there. And now I can start spending that, because actually the next thing I need to do is I've got some outstanding invoices that I want to pay from this account. So let's do that. In order to do that, I need to set up some users who are going to have the ability to make those payments, and those users who are going to have the ability to approve those payments. Let's have a little talk about users then. So, within Centtrip, there's two main types of user. There's ones called super admins, and there's ones who are just called admins. In fact, what they're referred to as, the full name, is a corporate super admin, or CSA for short. Now those are the users who are kind of in charge. They're the ones who manage a whole corporate, and they can add users, and they can tweak roles, and they can move money from account to account, just like I've been doing so far. And then you've got the regular admins, and these are your guys who are actually just working on specific accounts and are going to be doing day-to-day work. They can make payments, they can top up cards, they can generate all the reports, they can manage all the expenses, but they're not kind of like doing the administration on the account itself of like users and roles and so on. You've also got the ability to have users who just have read-only access. That's useful as well if you've got an accountant and they just need to run a report. You don't want them actually changing anything. And so let's have a look now at the users list in Centtrip. And these are the users we've got. So I am currently logged in as Claire Trainer. So that's me. I am a CSA. I am a corporate super administrator. And there I am in the list, and you can see here my role is corporate super administrator. And then I've also got this person here called Martin. Here's my corporate administrator, but he's just going to be the guy. He just works on that account specifically, and he just makes a few payments. He works just on that boat in this case, and he's just going to be making a few payments. So what I need to do is first of all, I need to set up approvals. Approvals for payments aren't active by default in Centtrip. You need to activate that. So I'm going to do that now. And the way I'm going to do that is, first of all, I'm going to edit the corporate super administrator role. And I'm going to edit that role, and I'm going to activate the approval functionality, the ability to approve payments. So to do that, I go to corporate super administrator. In the roles tab. So I'm going to be editing this role. And this gives me all the details. And what I want to do is you can see here it says can approve payments by default is set to no. So what I want to do is I want to edit that role. Now you'll see here we've got quite a lot of settings because there are an awful lot of permissions that you can edit for a user. So let's just take a look at what those permissions are. And here's the list of the full scope of things that you can edit for a role. So you can edit whether or not they can make payments. You can edit whether their payments need approval, if so, how many, and is there a limit? What is their limit on how much they can actually spend in each payment? Do they have the ability to create recipients, or can they only pay existing recipients? Can they convert currency? If so, how much can they convert? Can they order cards? Can they manage cards? Can they top up cards? Can they create users? So there's a lot of things that you can change. In this case, the only thing I want to change is the ability to approve payments. I want to change my corporate super administrator role, and I want to turn on the ability to approve payments. And there we go. I just tick that box there, click save, and we're going to update all the CSAs. And it's going to update 3 users. That's great. And that role is updated. So now my corporate super administrators, so myself, Claire, now has the ability to approve payments. So that's great news. What I now need to do, though, is I need to edit this guy, my corporate administrator, Martin, and I want to make sure that his payments require approval, and I also want to look at that spend limit. So in order to do that, I need to edit the corporate administrator role, but actually I don't want to, let's say I had like 7 different administrators and I only wanted to edit Martin. How would I do that? Well, what I would do is actually, rather than editing the role, what I would do is actually duplicate it. I would create a new role, and it's a custom role. I can give it a name. Let's call it something meaningful. So let's say here's a payer who requires 1 approval. And we can just tick that. And here we are, can make payments. And we're going to say that his payments require 1 approval. And I'm also going to just take down the amount he can spend. And you just get a little warning there. Whenever you change the payment limit, you need to also change the FX limit, because obviously we have the ability to make payments with FX. And there we are. So we're going to set his limit to 10,000 for all users with that role. So we've created our custom role. So if you look here, type of role, corporate administrator, that's a system role, that's a default one. And what we've done now is created our own new custom role. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to find Martin in my list. Here he is. And I'm going to edit him. And I'm going to stop him from being a corporate administrator by removing that role assignment. And now I am going to assign my new custom role to Martin. And there we are, payout 1 approval. And Martin is just working on the Carlton account. He's not working on anything else. So that's good, that works. So now what I'm going to do is click next, click confirm. And he has now been assigned that role. So great news. So now I have given this guy, training.admin@whatevermail.com, the ability to make payments that require approval. So in order to actually test that, I need to log in as him. So I'm going to log out of my CSA role. I'm now going to take off my CSA hat. I'm going to put on my standard admin hat, and I'm going to sign back in to the platform as Martin. There I am, Martin Trainer. Now notice, remember we only assigned that role and we just said that role is specific just to the Carlton account. And so lo and behold, I've only got access to that account. Now what I can do is I can go ahead, I can make payments. Actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a batch payment. So I'm going to import more than one payment in one go. Just to confirm, my recipients are already there. And those are the guys I'm going to be paying. They're already in my list. And my spreadsheet, we can see here. And these are the guys I'm paying. So here I've got the nicknames, that's just the reference for to get the right recipient. I've got the amount I'm paying, the reference for the payment, and the reason for the payment. Very, very simple. So I'm going to import that file into Centtrip. So I go create batch payment. Let's call this December invoices. I can set when I want that payment to be made. I just need to confirm the operating account it's going from. That looks good. And then I just need to import my file. And I've got that here on my desktop. And I can go next. There we go, it's confirming. It's got 2 payments in there. The total amount, the fees, looks good. And I just need to send myself a little code. And that's going to come through on my other screen, so just bear with me. Here we are. I've got my verification code. That just confirms I am who I say I am. Great. My payments have been submitted. So now I'm going to take off my Martin hat and put back on my Claire hat, my CSA hat. I will get an email saying, oh, there's a payment awaiting approval. But what if I am out and about and I'm not in the office? Well, fortunately, the platform actually works on your phone as well. So here we are. I'm on the Manage Payment screen, but now I'm signed in. I'm signed in as Claire. And let me just refresh that to get the latest payment. There we are. And I can see here awaiting approval is 1. I can click that button. I just get the payments that are awaiting approval. It's not that easy to see a grid on a phone, so I can just click on that. I get all the details presented nicely. I can look at that in detail if I needed to, but to be honest, I know what this payment's about. I recognize it, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to approve that. Good, so I've been able to approve that on my phone. Fantastic. All right, well, that is, we've created some custom user roles, we've been able to make some payments, we've been able to set up approvals. What we now want to do is take a look at the area of cards. So, And what I want to do is I actually need to order some new cards. And let's say I've got a person on my team, and their card, he's lost his card, and he's in a shop, and it's a bit awkward, and what he needs is a quick the ability to tap and go on and pay for some stuff. Well, the beauty of Centtrip is we got the ability to create virtual cards, which as soon as they're created, they're active, they'll appear in the app, and straight away you can go in, you can see that card, you can get the details of it, and you can add them to your virtual wallet in order to start making payments straight away. And I can also set spend limits for that card as well. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go back to Centtrip. And I'm going to sign in. I need to sign back in as a super admin. And I am going to order a new card for that user. So in order to do that, I'm going to go into Manage Cards. I'm going to go into Order Cards. And here we are. We've got this drop-down list here, which allows me to select that I'm going to do a virtual card. And I'm just going to confirm the operating account for that card, and I'm going to click Next. And again, I've got a file to import. So again, let's go and have a little look at the import file. So we can select the emboss name, i.e. that's the name on the card. Look out for that, because that'll show us we've definitely looking at our new card. But all the other details, first name, last name, email, they all belong to the existing user who's lost his card, because we're creating a second card for an existing user. Whenever you create a card, you also have to supply like date of birth and phone number. And you might think, well, why is that? Well, it's because we often do little identity checks for security and fraud on the card holders, just to make sure they are who they say they are, especially if you're resetting passwords and things like that. So that's all part of the card ordering process to get all that security information in. So that is the file we're going to be importing. So let's go back here. We're going to import our import file. And we're going to click Next. And it's complete. Boom. You might think that seemed a little abrupt. Well, it's a virtual card. So we don't have to say like, oh, delivery details and so on, which you have to do when you are doing a physical card. Here, we're just doing a virtual card. And that has now been created. Sometimes it takes about 5 or 10 seconds to appear in the list. So let's have a look. Oh, no, there it is. Card name, Captain Dicken. There's our card. That is looking pretty good. So you can see here, it's a virtual card. It's active, all looking good. What we haven't got is any money on it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to load that card. So just click that plus there, and I just confirm I'm loading from my operating account and onto this card. And I'm going to just put 500 on there to get them started. So we can do his Costco order. You can see there's a payment fee for card loading. Great. And then what I might just do is, while I'm here, is I can just, if I want to, tweak the spend limits on that card. So if you're like, you know what, 150,000, I might just take that down to say, 5,000, and then maybe put a maximum transaction amount of 1,000 on there. If I just, because, maybe it's a fairly junior person and I want to be able to manage their spend. So that's now updated the limits on that card. So without further ado, I think we should go and look at this card. So now I'm taking off my super admin hat and I'm putting on my card holder sat in Costco, waiting in the queue for his card to appear. So let's switch from Chrome. Let's go back into my Centtrip app. And we're going to sign in. And I just need to confirm the account, which is this one. And so that's a card which maybe it's a card I've lost or it stopped working or something. But now I can go to all cards. And now I've got my Captain Dicken card with 500 on it. Perfect. Let's select that card. And what I need is the number if I'm going to put that into my Apple Wallet. And that's easy because if I go and look at the details of that card in the app, I can just click Show Full Card Details, confirm I am who I say I am, and I've got all the card details there, and I can go ahead and I can plug that into my Apple Wallet and start spending straight away on that card. And all the details of all the various limits which have been applied to that card by my CSA are there as well. So that's great. That card's ready to go, and I can start spending. Now that brings us on to the question of, okay, if people are spending on the cards, how do I, as an admin, keep an eye on the spends and make sure that it's all looking correct? And that is all done in the expenses screen. So we've got two tabs here. We've got account transactions, which is all your transfers and card loads and FX and all that kind of stuff, payments, fees, and then the card transactions list. Oh, let's just go back in and select Carlton. That's where all the actual payments come in. So I can see here, okay, he's now been buying stuff. That's great. So I can just click on the transactions. I can just double check that receipt looks all right. Yeah, that looks good. I can go in, I can have a look at the labels. Yep, that looks fine. You know, I can check the other transaction as well. All right, we are looking good there. I'm happy with that. And I, as an admin, you know, can sort of happily put those transactions into my statements and those can go into the books. Good stuff. Now, what I want to show you now is a feature in Global which is related to this, which is a special kind of statement, which is a project statement. Now, what is a project? Well, a project is, in the case of like a marine industry, a project, an example of a project is a charter when a particular person has exclusive use of a yacht for a period of time. And when you have that kind of event happening, then what you want to do is you want to just know and keep a record of all the transactions that have happened that are related to that, because you need to be able to generate a report on that particular project or charter at the end of it going, okay, you know, this is how much money you paid and this is how we spent it. And that's possible to do in the platform. And I'm going to show you that now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this labels and projects screen here. I'm going to go to projects. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new project. So the project name is sort of a description of the actual project. So let's call it the Dicken Charter, December 25. Alternative value, that might just be a code you'll use, maybe in your accounting for transactions related to this. Start date, let's say it actually started today, and let's say the end date is the following Friday, and currency is euros, and cards, this is quite clever, because what you can do is you can set up your project so all transactions from those cards which are made in the lifetime of the project are automatically basically tagged as being related to this project, related to the charter. So that looks good to me. That is now created. And what it means is now I can start going ahead and sort of labeling my expenses as relating to that transaction. And so let's say, that initial transfer we did, that down here, remember we transferred that 2,000 euros at the beginning? What I'm going to do is I'm going to label that as being related to that charter. And then maybe those two payments I made earlier on as well, I can also label those as being related to that. So it's that one and this guy here as well. And I could do the fees as well if I needed to. Okay. So where does all that information go? Well, as I said, it's a particular type of statement. And if I go to project statements and I select that project, I can see here the start balance, the money that's gone in, the transfer, the money that's gone out, the payments, the end balance. And now that is a good beginning. And now I can, going forward, all the card transactions within the lifetime of that project, they're going to appear in this list as well. And this is a really handy way of being able to just keep an eye on exactly what is happening, on my account, but specifically related to that particular event, in this case, that particular charter. So projects is a great feature for keeping track of specific events and activity that's happening within an operating account. Cool. So I think that's everything I'm going to show you on the platform itself as it currently is. But before we finish today, what I want to do is I want to show you a little preview of what's happening next on Centtrip. And particularly because there's going to be some changes to the user experience and the user interface, particularly on dashboards and on navigation, which is going to change the way you kind of look at your data and manage your data. So let's switch over to my little preview. And what we're looking at here is a new version of the dashboard. If you remember, the dashboard in Centtrip is this screen here, where you've got like quick transfer and the balances and so on. What we got is an updated version of that. Similar information, we try to foreground the things which we think our users find most useful and check most often. So we still got the balances there, that's important. You need that front and center. This is how much money is in the operating account. But then payment approvals. People do that every day. So it'll just show you on this first screen, when you first go into an account, exactly what payments need approval. You can check the individual payments within that batch, and you can even go ahead and approve it there and then. Similarly, card balances, you can check those. We'll have sort of a list of all the cards in an account. You could filter that if you need to. And then if there's a particular card you want to look at, you can go in, you can top up the card, you can go in, you can look at the expenses of and the transactions on that card and do that sort of labeling and checking the receipts as we did before. And then you've got these nice little navigation arrows. You can go from card to card just to make it easier just to work through all the cards in an account. And similarly, we've got these navigation arrows here, so you can go from operating account to operating account, just working through and doing that kind of day-to-day checking. Obviously, we've also got a navigation tool, so instead of the two drop-down lists, we just got a single kind of tool which you can use for switching between your accounts. So that's the change which we're going to sort of be introducing in Q1 2026. Really excited to show you that, because I think it just makes that kind of day-to-day management of the platform just a little bit more straightforward. As well as those changes to the user interface, we also got some changes to some of the other features as well. So recipient creation is going to become much more advanced and simpler. So you're going to be able to, similar, when you do a transaction in like a banking app, where you enter sort of the account, the name of the account and the sort number and account code, and he goes, yep, that's all matches, or no, that doesn't match. And then, you go ahead and that payment's done. We're doing that kind of like account lookup and so on and so forth. And that just will verify that recipient detail is right, but it'll also automatically populate most of the recipient data. So it'll save time with creating. And as part of that, we'll be adding in, importing and so on. Batch payments is there's a lot coming down the line for that. So you'll be able to make batch payments and do currency conversions, all of the same operations. So you can, this is useful for doing salaries and payroll, where you need to just quickly transfer money into the correct account and send it to those recipients. And also you'll be able to do payments to people who aren't in your recipients list. So you actually supply all the bank data as part of the import file. We are increasing the number of and the variety of statements you can do and reporting. So say you can generate a report which has all your cards in it, and just many more options and more flexibility for that. And notifications and alerts, so you'll get that heads up of activity happening on the platform. If a card gets blocked for whatever reason, you'll be notified about that happening, all that kind of thing. So that's going to be coming as well. So we're looking forward to that in Q1 2026. So we'll be let you know as and when those go out. But that is everything for this session. If you want to learn a little bit more about Global, we do have a support library of articles specific to Global, help.centtrip.com. But of course, you can also ping the team if you've got any questions about Global, how it works, how to do certain things at help@centtrip.com. And you can see my email details there as well. If you've got any thoughts or suggestions on the platform, talk to your relationship managers. My email address is there as well. And happy to hear feedback and ideas of the platform as well. Thank you very much for your time. Have yourself a great day.